DJ Nation fam, what is up? What is happening? It's your guy, Ryan Williams here, back again with the Week 13 DFS Top Low on Plays video here for the Fantasy Authority and the DJ Nation. It's a fun week, Week 13. Let's buckle in, get into it. I know I say that a lot. It's a fun week, and always by the time that I get this video in, it seems fun because we can talk about the contrarian spots, we can talk about leverage spots on where people are going. But I will say that this week, unlike any other, is just going to be very difficult. It's going to be the builds are going to be a lot similar. So by going off of the reservation just in one or two spots, and you can listen back to the DJ Nation pod, we talked about that a lot, just with the nature of the slate, especially at the running back position. It's just you're going to see a lot of teams that look very similar. So as I get into these plays here in the top low on plays video discussion, there will be some plays where you're like, really? And that's kind of where we're at. And so I'm looking at the spots where points are projected to be scored, high Vegas implied totals. So yeah, let's get into it. Before we get into it though, you can follow me on Twitter at @RyanAlexander_W if you aren't already. Appreciate all the love you guys have been giving me all year, giving the Fantasy Authority, giving the DJ Nation pod. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel here so that you can get all of our content, and then you can catch us on Sunday. The DJ Nation pod actually is taking on the game day show. So come on, hang out with us. If you got start sit questions, DFS questions, we want to rock with you guys, myself, Kevin, Maddie. It'll be a fun one. Buckle in. All right, week 13 plays. Let's start up at quarterback. Quarterback, I got Kirk Cousins at the top. Now, Kirk Cousins, man, this is a guy that I do not really ever talk about playing in daily. And it really comes down to just the matchup. The Jacksonville passing defense is not great. They've allowed 300 passers, religiously ad nauseum this year to go against them. We have Cook, who, despite having the ankle injury last week and having to leave the game, he did come back. He's at 9,500 on DraftKings, 10K, maybe a little bit above on FanDuel. And you're looking at this, leverage spot here that you can get Cousins in going against this defense. And we talk about it all the time, the narrow distribution of targets. If Cook isn't smashing, but Vegas somehow is thinking the Vikings are going to put up 30 points in this matchup, how does that happen? Okay, so we get Cousins with Thielen, Cousins with Jefferson, Cousins with both of those guys, Cousins with those guys, and Rudolph, mix and match with Rudolph. And the tight end position is ugly. We'll later, but there's just so many ways to go, and you're looking at this, and everybody wants to play Vikings players this week, but really Cousins is going under the radar. So 6,200 on DraftKings, 7,000 on FanDuel. Really love Cousins this week in tournaments, especially large field tournaments. Let's talk about Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, 5,500 on DraftKings, 7,400 on FanDuel. I'm sorry. I completely messed up these prices. Hey, that is not what he is. I believe he's 63 on DraftKings, and I'll have to pull up his FanDuel price here. But really with Taysom Hill, I'm looking at this first matchup here, and he went up, he put up 25 points, and that's without scoring a passing touchdown. And last week, he was able to get 18 points without scoring a passing touchdown. It's because of the rushing upside that he has. In the past two games, he's got four rushing scores to go along with there. And yeah, he's 6,300 on DraftKings. So you're looking at this spot, in Kamara coming in, at 7K, but he's dealing with the kind of injury there, splitting time with Latavius Murray. I just think, in this game here, and we should be getting Matt Ryan, Julio, Ridley on the other side. And so if Atlanta could keep up the pace, we've really seen the New Orleans Saints kind of take control in the first two starts that Taysom Hill has had. They beat the Falcons 24-9, beat Denver 31-3, haven't really put pressure on Taysom Hill to really do anything. And he's been putting up 18 and 25 in those starts. So if we think that he can, if we think that Atlanta can somehow keep up here, then he just becomes a fantastic play. And I'll talk about who I like to stack him with here shortly. But I love getting to some Taysom Hill. The DraftKings price is very nice when we talk about, Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers being popular there. So I really like getting to Taysom Hill this week. If you can, stomach having a guy who really, the upside does come in from his legs. And if we can, somehow get him passing a touchdown, that'd be great. He's 7,700 there on FanDuel. So I digress. 6,300, 7,700. Love Taysom Hill this week. Let's get into running back. And I got two guys to talk about here. Running back, like I said, is ugly. I mean, you got Montgomery is going to be popular. Devontae Booker, who I do like, is going to be popular. People, Eckler is popular. Robinson's popular. There's so many, and plus the top two guys, Cook and Henry. Those guys are going to carry ownership. So finding just guys who are in spots where points can be scored, and we talk about Aaron Jones here, who's coming in at 7,200 on DK. He's 8,400 on FanDuel. This fourth highest price running back on FanDuel. But I think that his price will definitely keep his ownership down. We're looking at a Packers team here who has, one of the second highest implied total on the slate. And we know what Aaron Jones' role in this offense is. And I think people are going to look at the Jamal Williams price tag, which has come up. And they've been doing that with running backs this year. I feel like because people are missing. Alexander Madison was priced up, and that could be because Cook was looked to be questionable at the beginning of the week. Devontae Booker priced up. Jacobs questionable. So we saw that Williams last week against the Bears, he's getting run there, but a lot of work he was able to do was in the third quarter and fourth quarter. The Packers just had that game right in hand, and going against Philly here, maybe they do have that, but he still has that red zone role that we love. Still since week 9, he has 8 to 6 red zone opportunities to Jamal Williams, but 5 of those opportunities for Jamal Williams came last week. So definitely love getting to some Aaron Jones here as leverage off of Aaron Rodgers, who will be a mainstay for a lot of my teams. But I like getting Aaron Jones on those Rodgers teams, or even as a one-off, because he just has slate breaking upside and he's really going under the radar. Another guy who's going under the radar, not surprisingly, I guess, is Kenyon Drake. He comes in at 5,700 on DraftKings, 6,600 on FanDuel. And this is, surprisingly, I don't really know what's going on with this game. I mean, people don't want to play Kyler. Goff, maybe he's going to carry some ownership. The Rams' 2 wide receivers in Cup and Woods will definitely carry ownership. It's tough to see Hopkins really popping off. Jalen Ramsey's been really good here. So, but this game total environment is still, popping off the page for us. So how can we get leverage here? Let's go to Kenyon Drake. I mean, he falls right within that range of guys like Devontae Booker, Myles Gaskin, who's catching some steam, David Montgomery. You're looking at the target share too, 9 targets over the past 2 games, which is actually the same as Chase Edmonds. But really, when we're looking at what he was doing, before the injury that he suffered, that was the one thing that was lacking from Drake. That's what people were disappointed about in those first couple of games there. We're looking at it, seeing 2 targets, 1 target, 1 target, 2 targets, 2 targets, nothing really of merit. And now, 5 targets a week, or 2 weeks ago, 4 targets last week. That's what we want to see from him. And especially, with the running back situation here, we're looking at Kyler. He's banged up with the shoulder, didn't really look himself last week. It was against the Patriots, but I really like Drake to bounce back here against the Rams. One spot that you can do against the Rams, you can attack them. And looking at this again, I'm talking about earlier on in the season, he had 4 games in the first 7 weeks where he had 13 or under DK points. And now he has 13 or more DK points in every game since returning back from injury. So love getting to some Kenyon Drake exposure here to get some exposure to that game even. Let's get into wide receivers. I got a slew of wide receivers to talk about, and then 1 tight end. So let's start up at the top. It's Michael Thomas. If I'm going to talk about Taysom Hill, got to talk about Michael Thomas here. 7,000 on DraftKings, 7,200 on FanDuel. This dude has an immense target share right now with Taysom Hill. I mean, it's crazy when you look into the numbers. Like, it seems like they're just running him out there and nobody else. He has 18 targets in the 2 starts that Taysom Hill has had, and the next closest is Sanders with 6, I believe. So we're looking at like a 47% target share over the past 2 starts. I talked about Kamara dealing with the foot injury and splitting work with Lat Murray. Very hard to trust the run game right now. Last game that he had against this Atlanta team, 22.4 DK points. And plus, we're looking at the Thomas situation. That was his best game on the year, by the way. But we're looking at this situation here. And I mean, this is Michael Thomas, though. This price tag is too cheap for him, and no touchdowns on the year as well too. He got 22.4 without scoring a touchdown. So if Michael Thomas is able to find pay dirt here, going along with Taysom Hill, I love the stack. And then talking about the stack, let's talk about the run back here. Julio Jones, he comes in this week at 6,600 on DraftKings, 8,000 on FanDuel. Now, I know that Schefter, I'm recording this on Saturday night, Schefter had tweeted out that Julio, barring any setbacks in pregame, will be set to play. So definitely something we want to monitor there. But we're looking at no Janoris Jenkins for this team here on the other side in the Saints, and it's Julio Jones, right? I mean, the same thing could be said with Michael Thomas. I mean, 6,600. We're looking at this price tag. It's crazy. And the last time he came off the injury report, there going up against that matchup against Minnesota, a secondary that we knew we could attack there, he scored 36 DK points. I mean, Julio just has the chance to break the slate anytime that he's on it and going under the radar like he is this week. So I love getting to some Julio lines, especially on those stacks. But even as a one-off, I think that it has some merit there. When you can, talk about the guys who he's priced around, especially on DraftKings. I'm looking at it here. Calvin Ridley still more expensive. Justin Jefferson will be popular. Allen Robinson should play. He might go under the radar, but if Fitzmagic's playing, Devontae Parker 6,400, Jarvis Landry 62, Kupp and Wood 61 and 59 respectively. I mean, there are ways that people will talk themselves off of Julio Jones, and I don't want to be one of them. Let's get to Michael Pittman here. He's 4,900 on DraftKings, 5,600 on FanDuel. Let a lot of people down last week, I think. And what was looking like a good matchup there against Tennessee. Only caught 2 passes there for 4.8. T.Y. Hilton was the kind of wide receiver star of that game, but you were looking at it and he still saw 9 targets, and that's 7 targets for him in 3 out of the past 4 games. So he definitely has a role here. We know that, Rivers really likes to have him involved. And I just think what we saw last week was an anomaly. So I want to try and definitely take advantage of that this week. And then we're also looking at Bradley Roby not being active for this game. So we're talking about guys like Vernon Hargreaves and Phillip Gaines trying to go out there and stop Michael Pittman. Have fun with that. So in a game that's expected to be close as well, too, I like getting the Pittman here on that side of the game. I got 3 more guys here to talk about. Let's do these quick. Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He comes back into the top low own plays video. It's been a rough ride with Valdez MVS all year. Was talking about him earlier on in the year when Lazard was out and really wasn't doing all too much. But now we're looking at this, and what's crazy is Valdez. This is with Lazard being back, has seen 6 targets in each of the past 2 games. 3 for 55 last week. Before that, the big Jacksonville game where he got 4 for 149 and 1 in Lazard's first game back. And really what he was able to do, they took advantage of being able to attack Jacksonville deep. And now we're looking at a team here in the Eagles who rank 31st in DVOA versus deep passes. And it's a great way to kind of make everybody will go who's playing Rodgers will think to go Rodgers, Adams, log in, log out. Maybe Rodgers, Adams, Tanyan, because the tight end position so ugly. And by putting in Valdes-Scantling as well with those teams, and maybe there's even merit if you think you have a team that you like, but you want exposure to just play MVS as a one-off. I mean, if he's able to get a deep pass here at 4,400 on DraftKings, that's really all that you're looking for. It makes it tough to play him as a one-off. 5,700 on draft or on FanDuel. I couldn't do that, but definitely like getting to him on DraftKings. Lastly, here, let's talk about Josh Reynolds, and this really comes down to the ownership will go to Kupp and Woods. We saw this a couple weeks ago in the Rams-Seattle game where people wanted to play. They were talking about who should we play, Kupps and Woods, and they're looking at the price tags here again this week: 6,100 for Kupp on DraftKings, 5,900 for Woods on DraftKings. And it does feel too cheap, especially for a guy like Robert Woods. He had a 173-yard game against the Cardinals last year, but so cheap, I think they'll put Patrick Peterson on him. I don't really think that matters here. Kupp scored in both games last year too. So if people are looking at those logs, I think they'll gravitate to those guys. But we still have a Cardinals team that's given up the fourth most fantasy points to outside wide receivers. And we're looking at Josh Reynolds' snap shares. The past 3 weeks, I'm looking at them 80%, 90%, 98%. This dude is on the field. And if he's going to be on the field going under owned in this game that's late, I really like him as a leverage play, as people could be looking to have, maybe they have one off Woods, one off Cup, and having one off Reynolds could really just set your teams apart there in tournaments. He's 4,200 on DraftKings, 5,500 on FanDuel. Love getting some exposure to him. Let's talk about tight end as we round it out here. And it really comes down to Dallas Goedert for me. He's 4,300 on DraftKings, 6,200 on FanDuel. That becomes tough. We do have Ertz coming back, but I do think that'll keep Goddard's own percent down, and he has a secure role on the team. I mean, really, Goddard's role, because the Eagles are still running Goddard and Richard Rodgers out there with Ertz being out, right? And so even with Ertz being back, okay, so that affects Richard Rodgers. To me, that doesn't affect a guy like Dallas Goedert, who went Wentz's security blanket pretty much all season long. In the first two weeks of the season, the first game, we saw Goddard just absolutely smash, with Ertz still getting targets. Again, second game was not as great as that first one, but still, over the course of the first 2 weeks, he was out targeting Ertz 17-14 in those games. So especially with the tight end position being where it's at this week, it's just really tough to stomach. A lot of people will pay down at tight end. Anthony Ferguson is coming in with Jonnu being out. He's minimum. So I think a lot of people will be looking to do that. And just by paying up, not even talking about paying up for a guy like Waller, but paying up for a guy like Goddard on your teams, even outside of, a Packers run back, if you have, the Rodgers stack and you want to run it back with somebody like Goddard, I think Goddard has merit on all teams this week. So love getting to him this week. And that's going to do it for the DFS week 13 or the week 13 DFS top low and plays video. I hope that you guys, are able to hit up those leaderboards, get up those leaderboards, send us some screenshots and get some money there to the DJ Nation and to the Fantasy Authority. Like I said, Ryan Williams, you can find me on Twitter at RyanAlexander_W. I appreciate you guys all year rocking with us. And again, if you want your questions answered for daily, or if you want questions answered for redraft, you got starts your questions. Fantasy playoffs are on the horizon. Make sure you guys pop in with us Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Central Time. We will be on the YouTube channel and broadcasting as well on Twitch and on Periscope to get your questions answered there. The DJ Nation guys are taking over there. So appreciate you guys. Get out there, get this money week 13. I will catch you back next week for week 13 on those plays. Until then, peace.